Have you ever tried to calm or comfort your child, assuring them that the problem they were experiencing was no big deal, only to have them escalate and cry that it was? Do you sometimes notice that your child or your children can overreact to little things, and it seems to be to them that it's the end of the world? Have you, as a parent, ever overreacted because you were tired, overwhelmed, or hungry? Your kids may have some of the same triggers, but what they don't have is an adult brain that can help them to quickly break the problem down and solve it. In this episode, I want to introduce to you a game that you can play with your children called Big Deal, Little Deal. And it's going to help you and your children with regulating emotions. It is one of several episodes that provide ready-to-use tools that you can try with your children today. So, imagine that you're driving on a route you take every day to get from one place to another, but today is different. There is road work on your road. You may be curious. You're possibly annoyed because you might be late. Which option do you think would work best for you? A, pull over and wait for the construction to end, which could take weeks or months from now. B, pound the car horn until the construction crew makes an exception and lets you pass through. Or C, take a short detour on a side street to get to your destination. If you picked option C, you've engaged in flexible thinking. Children are still learning how to do this. Most don't do it very well or very consistently. So, is it a big deal or a little deal? What I like about this activity or game is it really teaches both emotional regulation skills and flexible thinking. And this is how I would introduce it to your child. We're going to play a game, and then you pitch typical but hypothetical questions to your child about situations that may create some difficult emotion or some tension, and you ask them if it's a big deal or a little deal. Here are some examples in the feelings that the child might experience. Let's say that you are getting ready for school and you realize that your shirt is on backwards. Is that a big deal or a little deal? Oh, it's a little deal. Oh, that's great. You know how this game goes. How would you fix it? Oh, I would just turn it around. And what's really cute is when kids demonstrate how they would do that. Or let's say you get to school and your shirt's on inside out. Is that a big deal or a little deal? And how do you feel about that? Oh, I'd be frustrated. But I could go to the bathroom and just turn it inside out, and then it would be okay. Great. You know how to solve these problems. Let's say that you are walking to school and you realize you forgot your homework at school, at home. It's still at home. Is that a big deal or a little deal? And so I think you get the idea. There are an infinite number of possibilities that we as parents can ask our kids, just situations that happen. Let's say that you get to school and you realize that you forgot your mittens and it's cold outside. Or let's say that you are coloring with a crayon and the crayon breaks, or the pencil lead breaks, or it's a timed math test and the pencil lead breaks, or you spill milk, or you drop an egg, or a toy you have, a part breaks on it. I think we can all agree, I hope, that these are pretty little deals, but you might be thinking, yes, but my child doesn't think it's a little deal in the moment, and you are absolutely right. Kids very often get very worked up about these, what we think are seemingly small things. And so the whole goal of this activity or this game is to have conversations with kids about these kinds of things that happen all day long and get kids to think about if it's a big deal or a little deal, how they might feel about it. Usually they're frustrated or puzzled or surprised or disappointed. They might be mad. And then what would they do to fix it? There are really two questions to this game. Is this a big deal or a little deal? That's the fun part. And kids generally do pretty well at guessing. It's a little deal, right? And then we can talk about the feeling they might have or the feeling you might have. And then what would you do to fix it or make it better? The second question is the key question. There's never a wrong answer to the first one. So if your child spills something, maybe their ice cream cone drops and it's not that big of a deal, but you say to them, is this a big deal or a little deal? In that moment, I'm pretty confident your child's going to say, it's huge, because they're really disappointed. All the emotions are right there, and they're really upset. There's really no wrong answer. They're giving you some really good information about how they view it in that moment. So it doesn't mean that they failed this game. There's no failing in this game. It's really how to have a conversation to get your child to start thinking more flexibly about some of those difficult emotions. So you might learn what your child thinks is big and what is little. And sometimes it really depends on how close they are to the experience. Why do we want to call this a game? Because kids learn better when they're having fun. And when you make it a game, they're more likely to participate in it. And this is a game that's a two-way street. It's a game that you can ask questions to your child, and your child can ask questions to you. So don't be surprised if they say something like, is it a big deal or little deal if you get a flat tire in your car? Or if you run out of gas? Or if the check engine light goes on? Or if you drop a carton of eggs out of the refrigerator? Or if you spill a carton of milk? Or if you fall off of your bicycle? Is that a big deal or a little deal? And here's an opportunity for you to also respond. And then how would you make it smaller? Always practice this game when you're not upset, not in the moment, because if you do this in the moment, it's always going to be a big deal. And kids need lots of preparation for getting it right. So you can play this game in the car. You can play this game in waiting rooms. You can play this game at the dinner table while you're waiting in a checkout line, while you're getting ready for bed. It can be part of the bedtime ritual. It is super important to remember that when you ask these questions in real time, when they're upset, they may not initially see the problem as small as you see it. Remember, they are still learning. They don't have adult brains. So you can always loop back to the conversation once they've calmed down, and you can ask them, maybe the next day, maybe a couple hours later, remember when you were really upset? Was that really a big deal, or was it a little deal? And how did we fix it? And so you ask them to see it, and they start to develop this understanding that in the moment, like we adults, sometimes we get upset and then we step back from it and we go, oh, maybe it wasn't quite as big as I thought it was. So it's important to recognize that they have some of the same patterns we have. They just aren't as skilled at shifting gears or resetting as we are. Children may begin to recognize that when they are calm, they also see things differently. And most things that happen in life that upset kids are pretty small. Most things that happen in life that upset adults are also pretty small. If your child can't find a way to fix the situation that you've presented to them, offer them a couple of ideas and see which one they think would work best for them. This is a game that takes time and practice. Don't be surprised if this game works well in practice, but not in real life situations, at least not initially. It really takes time. I use the example of a fire drill. Most of you are aware that all schools have fire drills every single month. They have a practice drill. And kids from the time they're in kindergarten all the way through high school go through practice fire drills. And so by the end of high school, they have had hundreds of fire drill experiences, just like we adults might remember those experiences from our days. Never once did the fire department say, let's fill the hallways full of smoke and see what happens. It's kind of like this big deal, little deal game. We have to do it for practice so we know what to do when we're feeling pretty intense. But when you do have a fire drill, you always look to the exit signs. You know what to do. You know where to go because you've been practicing it all your life. And so it takes repetition without the intensity, without the smoke to get good at it. And then you eventually watch and see if your children do start to stay calm while they're upset and problem solve it by using that second question, how would you make it smaller? Thank you for tuning in and considering this parenting topic. I hope this information added to your growing toolbox for parenting your child or children. Please consider exploring other topics in this series. Remember, no one parenting tool can do everything. We need many tools to become the best parents for our children. Your children's future depends on you and the time and effort you invest in them today.